Good evening. It's now 7 o'clock, in fact 7:01, and I'm going to convene our regular session in two sessions. So at this time we'll have an invocation provided by the Honorable Patrick Harvey, and following that we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance to our flags. Will you please stand?
Let us pray. God, how excellent is your name in all the earth. You are an awesome God, a God of great majesty and power. By the power of your word, all things were created, and by that self-same power, all things are held together. We love you, you loved us. We're thankful, dear God, for this opportunity. We know that you ordained government, and you have called us to this awesome task of serving this beloved community. We know, dear God, that you are not only the source of wisdom and knowledge, but you are also the giver of every good and perfect gift. Because we recognize our frailties and we are dust, we beseech you in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, to grant us wisdom, insight, courage to do not only that which is right and pleasing in your sight, but that which glorifies your name. Grant us a spirit of oneness and cohesiveness as we conduct the business of this city, and we will be so careful to give your name the praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for the nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. For my mayor's report tonight, I've got some very good news about a grant that they prepared a grant request, and we were awarded. The city of Duncanville was awarded a $350,000 grant as part of the Firefighters grant program. The program is administered by the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, in cooperation with the U.S. Fire Administration. The Fire Department, Public Works, and Police Department have been working together to develop a traffic signal preemption system for Duncanville. Collectively, our team decided to apply for the Assistance to Firefighters grant for this project. The bid is $396,000, which will produce a consolidated traffic control project, which is eligible. Let's see, back up. It's $396,000. It will cost the city of Duncanville only $39,740, and this will be paid for out of the scofflaw proceeds. The system will allow the traffic signals and the vehicles to be controlled, so the emergency vehicles will have the right-of-way traffic signal. This will reduce response times and substantially improve traffic safety. As a quick example, vehicles upon seeing an emergency vehicle approaching from behind have no right-of-way. The vehicles often will pull into traffic, which is a safety concern, to allow the emergency vehicles to proceed. If they do not proceed through, thus delaying the emergency response. This is a wonderful opportunity to provide automation and customer service to Duncanville residents and visitors. So we're going to get a whole lot of money, over $300,000, to initiate this system. We've been talking about this for years because it's dangerous for the ambulances to go through an intersection where they're going against the light. This will eradicate that problem, and it will step up the response time, and it will also help those people that have to wait for an ambulance or a fire truck coming through the intersection. So we congratulate all of you in the city departments who have applied for this and have now been awarded this. Council member reports. Councilman Boyd.
I'd like to, as I have tried to somewhat make the habit of recognizing new business case, maybe somebody that I might discover in town to encourage us to patronize our local businesses and to, in effect, indirectly provide support through the sales tax that will generate. I discovered over behind the Kentucky Fried Chicken one day a new appliance store. Originally, I just thought it was another used appliance store, but in investigation and visiting with Carlos from Mayo, I found a young man with many years' experience in the appliance business, selling new Samsung, LG, Kenmore appliances, and I questioned him. I said, well, Carlos, how can you compete with the big box stores, which are out of, he says, I've learned this through my years of experience and the way I'm able to buy through a buying service. And he says, I can beat the big box stores for $500. I said, we need you in town, and I'll do my very best to let our population know that you. So with that, I want to thank Carlos for being over on Cedar Ridge, and I encourage you to go by and thank him for being here. If you don't need the appliance, just thank him for being here.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Rutherford.
I'd just like to thank the city employees who planned and put together the cleanup over at Lakeside Park on Saturday, and then just thank all the volunteers that came out and picked up trash there around the waterway. I know I told my wife after I got back that we weren't going to use plastic bags anymore because I don't know how many plastic bags we pulled out of that water. But I just wanted to thank everybody that's involved in that.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to remind everybody again that this Saturday is the Duncan Switch Street Market up on Main Street, kind of between the feed store and the War Memorial, and continue to have a good turnout every month, and I would encourage our folks to come participate in that from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., and you can buy a lot of stuff there and see a lot of things there that you're going to buy anyway, so that's a good place to come get it. Also, starting this Thursday, we have the Great American Shootout that's going to be down at the Duncanville Fieldhouse or the Bob Knight Fieldhouse. And this year we've got over 430 teams. Last year we had, I believe it was 392. And that includes the junior high teams, so they won't all be at the Fieldhouse. We've got 35 gyms, including all of the high school and junior high gymnasiums at Duncanville, Lancaster, and DeSoto. Usually Cedar Hill's involved, but their schools are all being re-roofed. But 35 gymnasiums will be going for the first several days simultaneously. We've got 140 Big 12 officials that are going to have a referee camp, basically. They're going to film each other and critique each other at night and try to get better at their jobs. And there'll be over 350 NCAA coaches in here recruiting these kids. And I'll be part of the hospitality room, as I've been every year since the inception of this coming to Duncanville, feeding these guys. And we feed them well because we want them to come back. And I appreciate the Duncanville businesses that help us do that, and for all the volunteers that help get involved in that. But it's going to be a good thing, but traffic will be heavy around the Fieldhouse this weekend, and hopefully we'll have all of our restaurants will be busy this weekend, as well as our hotels. So that's a good thing, and I just wanted to make our citizens aware of that.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to piggyback on the comments that Mayor Pro Tem Smith made about Duncan Switch. Last Thursday, I was very excited to see in the Neighbor Goes section of the Dallas Morning News an article about Duncan Switch. It was the feature article. It was, I thought, very well written, and it was in depth, and it talked about the origins of Duncan Switch. And so with that, I just want to acknowledge Daniel Flores and Monty Anderson, Steve Martin, along with Duncanville Design Studio, along with our city staff members who worked together cooperatively to make this happen. So again, kudos to all of you, and just want to let you all know, as Mayor Pro Tem Smith has said, this Saturday is going to be Duncan Switch, and I think the weatherman is cutting us a break. It's only supposed to be in the low 90s, so I'm going to be out there, and if I can take it, you can take it. So we're looking forward to seeing you out there. Thank you.
I think we have a rebuttal here. Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to acknowledge that we're going to have a farmer's market up by the Masonic Lodge this Saturday. And those guys have put a lot of hard work into that, and I want to make sure that our citizens know that there'll be a farmer's market that they can participate in and buy vegetables and fruits and those kind of things in the parking lot just to the north of the Masonic Lodge this Saturday. And I believe it's going to be the same hours, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no further lights, we'll go to item 7P, which is to receive a report from Just Balls regarding the Duncanville Fieldhouse.
Good evening. I believe Mr. Stan Smith has sold a little bit of my thunder. But we'll get over, we'll take. I'm just going to quickly highlight some of the May and June numbers in regards to the field house, and then emphasize some of the events coming up in July. In regards to the first week of May, we didn't have an opportunity to present these numbers last month, so we're going to present 2 months worth this month. May 3rd and 4th, we had Cinco de Mayo tournament, which is our second Cinco de Mayo tournament. Brought a little bit over 13,400 for that event. This year, one of the new events was the EYBL, which is the youth portion of the EYBL for the Nike circuit. So it's a new Nike event. And that was at 10,496,000. We had a Memorial Day tournament, a little bit more condensed this year than it was last year, but still revenue-wise was $11,781. And then we had the culmination of our league right at $7,331. In regards to June, we had our Father's Day event, which was more of a one-day round robin, which was $2,500. We had a, keep in mind also for the month of June, normally revenues are down for the month of June because most kids don't participate in tournaments for June because they normally participate in high caliber camps. So the fact that we did this well really in June was really great. So in June, again, they had the urban tournament, which is a little bit over $10,000. $496. We had Dallas Showtime, which is again a local group from here that uses the facility as well. A little bit over $11,781. And then we had Five Star, which has come back this year and will be coming back here again shortly in July. And they were here with us for a week for $7,330.67. So for the month of May, we were a little bit about $74,239. For the month of June, $71,755. Now back to July. We had our big state tournament, which is a local tournament held by DFW Elite, which is a huge girls tournament. I emphasize what live events were. Last year we had 4 live events. This year, as you can see, we're up to 6 live events, which means we are basically going back to back. We're getting the girls out by 5 o'clock, and we're having the boys come in immediately afterwards. So it is around the clock. So we started on a Sunday, which was kind of awkward, but it was July 6th through the 8th. Clear to revenue-wise was $18,965.62, and that tournament went from a Sunday through a Tuesday. Quickly turned around. We had a break on a Wednesday, and we went into the Lone Star Classic, which was this Thursday, which was July the 10th through the 13th. Revenue-wise was $16,883.35. Again, that was a live tournament. The next live tournament, which starts tomorrow, so we'll be quickly running out of here, it's going to be Max Ivany. He's doing a somewhat basically like a combine. So we'll have, I think he already has 200 college coaches, so they'll be arriving as early as tomorrow, and that kicks off tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It goes from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and that's tomorrow, a one-day event. And then as Mr. Smith mentioned, Gatso starts July 17th through the 20th. As he mentioned, it is a live event. We do have over 400 teams because now he's added over a 7th grade and 8th grade division. We have tapped out all the hotels in this area, including Lancaster, DeSoto, Duncanville. Now, anybody that's calling, we're actually forwarding them over to the Dallas area. And we basically did some courtesy calls today just to find out if everybody was indeed at capacity, and everybody was. Okay, then we have Primetime Nationals, which is coming up July 24th through the 27th. That, again, is a live event. Then we're going to end up with DFW Elite, which is 28th and 29th, which is, again, a live event. And then a new one this year is going to be our Kenyon Martin Camp. It's for a week, and it is with NBA player Kenyon Martin is going to be sponsoring a free camp. Quite a bit of media with that, but give us an opportunity to service some of our kids in this area. And that's July 28th through August the 1st. And I believe that's it I have for you. Questions?
Okay. Questions, anybody?
Are they going to run the shuttle, the city shuttle buses from Costco back and forth? Because you're going to need it this year, I think, probably
Absolutely.
worse than ever.
Yes. The majority of probably all the parking lot on the field house will probably be reserved primarily for college coaches. So pretty much all of our constituents will probably be parking at the church as well as Costco. My manager has assured me that we should have both shuttles running, so we'll be running those as early as starting on
Awesome.
Thursday.
Okay.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 8P is to receive the financial report as of May 2014.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleased to bring you this financial update. First of all, let's start off with our largest fund, which is the general fund, and we'll talk about where we're at on our revenues and our expenditures. In total, our general fund revenues are exceeding where we are year to date. And the year-to-date number, let me tell you how we calculate that. This is in the 8th month of our fiscal year, so we should be at about 66.6% of our revenues, and that's just putting everything on a linear scale. And we'll explain in a minute that not all of our revenues come in on a linear scale. So we're doing well. We're ahead of that budget expectation. We'll look at property tax, and you see that it's almost near the total adopted budget. As you well know, most of our property tax is collected in the months of November, December, and January. So we've already collected about 97.8% of our property tax for the year. That's not abnormal, that's normal. We'll look at our total sales tax. Again, we're running ahead of the year-to-date allocated percentage, which that's not 66%, that's about 50%, because if you remember, we're 2 months behind. The state renders our sales tax 2 months in arrears. So at the end of the year, we'll have 2 additional months that we'll have to accrue for. So in October, we'll accrue for August, and then in November, we'll accrue for the September sales tax. And so we look at, we cut that off at 50% and make that comparison. We're running about 18% ahead of where we were last year in sales tax. We'll look at our alcoholic beverage tax, and as you can see, it's well above where we should be. That's paid quarterly from the state. We've only received 2 quarters worth so far, and we're well on our way to meeting or exceeding that total budgeted amount. We'll look at our franchise taxes, fiscal year 14 in the green versus where we should be. Again, this one is one that we've scaled back to 50% because we've only we tend to receive our quarterly payments for franchise tax and that sort of thing at least a month, if not sometimes 2 months in arrears. So we've got 2 months worth or half the year worth that we're comparing. Again, we're doing well. We had tremendous gas franchise tax from the cold winter, and so we're in very good shape of meeting or exceeding that budget. Look at our total licenses, permits, and fees. Again, as you can see, that's one that is on more of a linear scale. We're just ahead of where we should be, so I don't see any reason that we won't meet our budgeted target for that category as well. Look at our total fines and fees. This is one that's been lagging a little bit, and we're making great strides to catch up. A lot of this has to do with warrant revenue collection. And as you can see, we made a lot of progress from the last month, and we're getting very near to getting where we need to be. Look at our total intergovernmental revenue. That's down significantly. That's primarily due to the fact that our SROs are no longer in the school system, and we're still working on collecting some of the revenue for the months that we've billed the school for. And so that revenue will not meet budget.
Richard, can I ask a question?
Sure.
On your emergency medical services, where are we in that process of having a company provide an audit for us to be able to be certified so that we could collect the standard?
I believe that that's still in progress, and Sam, do you have any additional information?
Yes, sir. What they're doing right now is we're trying to gather up data so that we can provide them to make sure that we meet compliance with all that system before they go ahead and give us an okay. Once we gather up all that data, then they'll be able to evaluate and see if we meet the standard to meet that Medicaid process. We received 2 emails this week, and we have 2 more sources of data that we need to retrieve to get to them. So as soon as we retrieve that data, we can provide it to them, and then they can continue with the process.
Almost a 6-month or almost a year.
Correct. It won't be until at least August of 2015 before we could ever see any kind of revenues.
Interest revenue is pretty pathetic. Made any investments or have savings accounts, you know how pathetic that is. And of course, I'm limited by the Public Funds Investment Act and the things that I can invest the city's money in. The primary goals there are to preserve principal and to maintain liquidity. So your interest earnings are fairly small. We look at our recreation fees, and again, this is one of those that's a little more of a linear, that we receive it periodically throughout the year at about the same pace. And so our, again, exceeding the targeted budget amount for this time of year. We look at our total other sales and services. Again, we're doing well. We've got our actuals ahead of where we should be at year to date.
Richard, excuse me again.
Sure.
Where are we on scofflaw collection? Where do they show up?
I'll get to that in a moment. It's in another fund. If we look at our operating transfers in, those are done by journal entry. They're budgeted amount from other funds for work that is done in the general fund by those of us who are employed out of the general fund. So it's a reimbursement, if you will. If we look at our expenditures, these are all the major cost centers. General government's just slightly ahead of where it should be for year to date. Total in finance is well below. Police is well below. Public Works well below. Fire's a little bit above, actually a fair amount above. And that was primarily due to the outdoor warning system that was installed. And non-departmental's right about where it should be. And then the transfers out are where they should be. If we look at our utility fund revenues, this is one that Interim City Manager Linda Humble alluded to the fact that we've got some work to do in the utility fund to talk about water and sewer rates, and this is one that I've spent a lot of time and doing a lot of analysis. And next month I'm going to make an adjustment on the red line, which represents where we should be year to date. And I think Mr. Harvey's been one that's been most concerned in watching this. And as I've went through and walked through all the calculations, we're actually 1 month, of course, behind of where we were because of billing. When we go out and read the meters and we go through that billing process, we've got that 1 month. That needs to come down by a month, the red line. And then we have a process at year end where we accrue unbilled. And that equates to almost, not quite, but almost another entire month. Because our billing cycles, our city's so large, we can't do our billing cycle all at one time. So we have it divided into 4 sections of the city. And so each one of those sections, and so we'll have one billing cycle at the end of the year. They'll very close or very nearly match year end, but we'll have 3 other cycles that'll be off by varying degrees of how much we have to accrue. And so next month, I'm going to work on arriving at the exact percentage that we need to bring that red line down so we can really see where we're at. So we're a little bit, we're much closer than where we're at, because the red line right now, the full 8 months of budget where we should or where we would be, but the green bar, which is actual, doesn't match that. So I've got to make that adjustment so we get a better graph.
Richard, why are we 1 month behind on billing? You go out and you read the meter, and it looks like it's another month before the bill.
Well, that's correct. We go through a process of reading the meter, then we put that information into our system, and it kicks out any type of anomalies, anybody that's outside of range, just in case the meter reader made a mistake, because we do manual meter reads. We don't have the automated meters that feed data into. And so if there's anything that kicks out, they usually takes them about a week from the time that they read the meter to go through all their processes and get that file ready to go to the billing company, and then they bill out for that. So, yeah, by the time long between the time that they read it and that, but you're reading it and you're billing for the month prior to that. So at the time that you read the meter, you're billing for the previous month, if you will.
Is that the norm in most cities?
Did I hear you say that we manually read our meters?
We do.
Okay.
We actually have, I've actually, one of the first projects I did when I came here to the city is I walked a route with a guy because I wanted to walk a mile in his shoes, and I walked and we read meters and we put that into his handheld computer, and then we came back and we uploaded that into the system. And it's a bit of a laborious process. The automated meters is phenomenal, so we would. Yeah. So that's where we're at today. If we look at penalties on water, you can see that those have already exceeded our budgeted amount. That's for people that are getting penalized for. Our total other amount is primarily reconnect fees. And again, I can't even count. That's 5 times what we budgeted for.
Mayor and Council, it's worth noting that we're going to be doing some additional training with our software, and we believe that we can adjust cycles. We have some folks that are on fixed income that get checks that do not correspond with our billing cycle. They end up getting on the cutoff list. They always pay. But they don't pay by our deadlines. And so staff is aware of that problem, to that problem, because we create unnecessary paperwork for us, sending out bills for people that are going to pay when their money comes in. So what it's going to do is allow us some flexibility to adjust due dates without impacting the reading cycle, and we believe in the months to come that the penalties will aren't paying versus those that do pay and have to pay penalties because of when their check comes in.
That's
good. I don't know what just happened to me. That just flipped around. Okay. It's hard to throw me, but that threw me. Okay, utility fund revenues and expenditures. Again, we just talked about the revenues, and then you look at the expenditures. They're slightly below where they should be. It's 0.6% of the year. We look at solid waste, and I have the same problem with solid waste, that I need to make some adjustments to that red line to get down, because solid waste is billed at the same time. So I need to get that a little bit better. But if you look at this, we're below, but when I make the adjustment on the red line, we'll be pretty close to where we need to be. Expenditure-wise, we're a little bit below where we should be, so that's a good thing. Then we get into the Economic Development Corporation. Look at our sales tax. Again, they're same as the general fund sales tax in terms of that they're up about 18%. We look at our total Economic Development Fund revenues versus our development fund revenues are slightly ahead. They're all sales tax. And then our expenditures are just a little bit behind the linear line of the 66%. We look at our Fieldhouse Sports Facility revenues and expenditures. Again, the below a linear portion, but we're coming into a very heavy time, as the Bryce has just alluded to, where the month of July is one of our big, heavy revenue producers, so that will correct itself in future months. Look at our expenditures, and the expenditures are below where they, the linear amount. Our medical self-insurance fund, the revenues which come in from the premiums that are paid by the employees, that's just a bit ahead of target. Our medical claims and prescription claims, administrative expenses, all those are in good shape. Our medical claims are very much below an excellent year and have not had any huge high claims. Our prescription claims are just a little bit above where the targeted amount, and that's a good thing. People are buying their prescriptions and they're staying healthy. And I'd make the argument that that prescription claim keeps that medical claim down. So that's a good thing to see prescriptions where they need to be. Administrative expenses are a little bit below target. Then we get into our comprehensive self-insurance fund revenues. This is our casualty and workers' comp. And we have contributions coming in from the general fund, the utility fund, other fund contributions, and interest. And interest is so small. Then we look at the claims, workers' comp claim. The insurance premiums, again, is just an overall of the broken out chart that I had a moment ago. Then you look below the target, and our liability claims are very much below our target for linear. So we're doing well in those areas.
Richard, the insurance is this paid annually?
In terms of
insurance premiums there?
On the workers' comp and liability, we're self-funded, and so we pay some administrative expenses up front, and then we get billed on a monthly basis for the work.
%.
Right, and primarily because of those administrative expenses that are paid up front. Then we get into the Transportation Improvement Safety Fund, and our traffic enforcement fees. That revenue is up above, no money budgeted for scofflaw, and I can tell you that we're about $450,000 above where we should be on traffic enforcement fees altogether. And of that $450,000, Cliff, $350,000 represents scofflaw. So that's your update.
Contributed to that.
So if you look at the expenditures, of course, we have some administration costs, and those are below target. We've got fees that go along with the scofflaw, which, again, there was no budgeted amount there because we didn't know we were going to have the program when we built the budget. They get 50% of what we collect after expenses are deducted, and that's paid at the end of the year, so there's nothing to report there. And then we've had our transfers out to reimburse the other funds for work done in street and signal amounts that have been spent. And that concludes my report. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions.
Seeing none, thank you very much. Our next item is item number 9, and it's the citizen input, and I have 2 cards tonight. And at this time, 2-minute comments will be taken from the audience on any topic. To address the council, please submit a fully completed request card to the interim the citizens input portion of the city council meeting. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the city council cannot discuss issues raised or make any decisions at this time. Issues will be referred to the city staff for research and possible future action. First, Metzger.
Good day and congratulations to the new council.
And if you will give your name and address to the city secretary.
Yes, Victoria Metzger, 1544 Hamilton Drive. I'm a resident of Cedar Hill, Texas. And with that comment, my mom graduated in 1956 as a basketball player from Duncanville High School. So I work with the Tri-City for the last Eagle Volleyball Club. I'm here before y'all now to ask for your support for the city and for the Recreation Center for the Wounded Warriors Wheelchair Volleyball event. Asked by Jeffrey Milligram to be with the Wounded Warrior event for Dallas of next year, 2015, and to create a new game. I am 9 cities. Our headquarters is here in the Tri-City area, as I'm out of this area. And what I am doing is asking to see if we can start creating the leagues, tournaments, and national events here. This obviously is our inaugural city, our first one. I was asked to create the leagues before we introduce the game next year. My background is obviously a player. I'm pretty tall. Championships. I was on the first Junior Olympic volleyball team. Got a bronze medal and gold medal, AU number 2, AU number 3, 41. I'm a national coach for AU volleyball. I'm on the USA Volleyball Board for juniors. I'm the secretary and on the budget committee. We have 12,000 athletes, 1,100 coaches and employees. I'm a UIL official for 36 years. Coach, my last college this last year was Sul Ross State University. The year before was Dallas Christian. I was waiting for Northwood University to coach them this next year, but they decided to close. So God put me, and as that to be spoken, I really only have 25 more seconds, and I just really am asking for your support from the city and Center, which I participated in for the last 8 years practicing with my teams. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Galbraith. If you will give your name and address to the city secretary.
I'm Dave Galbraith. I live at 203 Brookwood Drive, Duncanville. As we look ahead to the future of Duncanville, I would like to plead with this council in deciding what we want Duncanville to be in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and beyond. As we look back, we see that many citizens have sacrificed on improvements. I want to thank all of them for their personal sacrifices and vision. And some of us who have yet to contribute very much beyond our tax payments need to dream a little, turn off the television, and bring our comments to Councilman at Large, Mr. Harvey, and Mayor Green. Some of us need to offer to serve on boards and committees, but we also need to help gather information and research details that group decisions. That may be hard work, but our future depends on our stepping forward to help. Specifically, I encourage some of our citizens who have skills and experience to step forward. Some may still be working, but some may be retired with more time to offer. In some cases, we citizens, council and staff, having to pay for outside consultants. Our information can become resource material for planning decisions. I believe that Duncanville should be the anchor city of the best Southwest, situated at the southwest quadrant of I-20 and 67, Outside investors should be competing for prime land along Main Street, Cedar Ridge, Clark Road, and other thoroughfares. I look forward to sharing more from my personal, professional experiences on this subject. Feel free to contact me for clarification or more detail about the above discussion.
The next part of our agenda is our consent agenda, and I will ask our interim city secretary to read items 10C through 14C.
Item 10C is to consider approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting. Agenda item 11C is to consider approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, awarding the Keep 2014 Property of the Month to the Wendy's Restaurant located at 622 East Camp Wisdom Road and providing for an effective date. Consent agenda item 12C is to consider approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, approving an expenditure in the amount of $1,000 general fund for the FY13-14 hot mix asphalt overlay program with APAC Texas, Inc., utilizing an interlocal agreement with Dallas County and authorizing city manager to execute all paperwork and necessary documents and providing an effective date. Consent agenda item 13C is to consider approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, the 2-year term bid for janitorial services at the Duncanville Field House to Gilliam DBA Vanguard Cleaning Systems of Dallas-Fort Worth in the unit amounts bid with an estimated 2-year expenditure amount of $130,600 and authorizing the interim city manager to execute the necessary documents and provide an effective date. Consent agenda item 14C is to consider approval of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, declaring certain personal property as obsolete, valueless, and surplusage, the same by the interim city manager or her designee, providing a severability clause, providing a repealing clause, providing an.
City Council members, you've heard the captions read on items 10C through 14C, which are our consent items.
Thank you, Mayor Green. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent items as read.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Will you please vote? Seven oh. Thank you. Item 15, we will not be taking any action at this time. I'm going to recess our regular meeting, and we're going to reconvene our executive Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to consult with the city attorney and our special legal counsel to seek legal advice concerning the notice of willful violation of Article 2, Section 2.10 of the Duncanville Home Rule Charter, and to seek legal advice concerning procedural requirements for violations. So at this time, we will recess this meeting. We will back into executive session after we adjourn the executive session to either take action or to adjourn the meeting. So this time we stand in recess.
What time, Mayor? The time?
Oh, the time is 7:48. I need to repeat this. It's now 8:47. I'm reconvening the regular meeting. Item number 15 was to take any necessary appropriate action as a result of closed executive session. There is no action, and being no further business to be brought before this council tonight, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:47.